are here. It is the Metal Roundtable, and we are back with the great Rob DeLuca from UFO, who decided to pop on with us today very graciously. We appreciate that so much. So, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm good, Rob. Thank you for having me. I'm safe and locked down, but considering things are pretty good.
Good. So, you're a New York City guy. Now, did you grow up there, or have you just lived there a few years? Or
I've been in New York City in Manhattan for 30 years.
oh, wow, okay, so for a long time. So, when all this came down, I mean, what was your warning? What did the city look? I mean, how did that all come about? And are you still there?
I am not still there. I have a lot of friends from touring overseas, and I was getting word. We also, Spread Eagle has an Italian record label, Frontiers SRL.
Hmm.
So I was getting word from Europe that it was coming. It had spread from Asia to Europe and was obviously going to get to America, North America. And, you know, if you live in Manhattan, you can imagine.
Yeah.
So luckily, I have friends in Europe tell me that this is really serious. You know, if you hear conflicting reports, it's bad. If you don't know what to believe, believe that it's bad. And I have been through 9/11 and Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Irene, blackouts, and I just knew that New York is not. New York is the best city in the world, but it is not a good place during a emergency.
Hmm.
It's just too many people. It's just too crazy.
Yeah.
So I got out of there, and I'm at my dad's house. I'm safe, and it's good to be with family also.
Yeah, that is good. One thing that I've learned about all this, I'm down north of Dallas, and it makes you realize what's important. Um, it makes me realize how busy I am with things that I don't need to worry about. And spending time with my wife and my stepson has been fantastic. We're kind of introverts anyway, so we've trained for this our whole lives. But even being as introverted as we are and loving to stay home, my gosh, what I would give to just get out and go see you guys at the Gas Monkey again, or something like that. Um, so tell me, how does the word come down? Because you guys had a Spread Eagle tour about to start, or were you underway?
I'm looking at today's date. It was going to start in shows. Were going to start in about 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
One show was in April that got canceled, but the other shows were going to start in 2 weeks, and obviously those are canceled. So that's devastating because we just put out a new record, Subway to the Stars, and
Hmm.
really proud of it on Frontiers.
It's
And
really good.
yeah, thank you. It actually got the best reviews of our career, so we were excited to take it on the road. We are going to do a big chunk of those songs live, and so now we're on hold just like everyone else.
Yeah, but I would imagine that you're going to plan to get back out there as soon as you can and as soon as it's safe.
Absolutely, but we don't know when that is. I mean, we could rebook it and cross our fingers, but after canceling once, I don't want to cancel again and book it a third time. I want to wait and know what is true. I want to wait from clear word from the people in in charge of when we can play.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I love the record. Keith
Thank you.
from the record cassette and CD
The
asylum,
Asylum.
uh, he connected me with you,
Say hi to
and
Keith for me.
yeah, I will.
He's
He
the guy.
connected me with you, which I very much appreciate. And he and I got to talking about the record because I had it and he had it, and we got to talking about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? You're talking to Rob DeLuca? We got to get something hooked up. Can we do this? And I saw that you had done a video for him for one of the events that they had in the asylum.
Mhm.
So um, we just did Super Metal Sunday yesterday, as a matter of fact. And I took out a stack of records to the post office between yesterday and today that was almost as tall as me.
Oh wow.
I mean, packed in shipping boxes. It was unbelievable. And he told me you're quite the vinyl collector.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, mainly stuff from when I was a kid,
Yeah.
uh, which is nice,
So you
just
still have all that?
absolutely a whole room of it,
Oh my gosh, that's if I
whole
could go
walk-in
back.
closet of
Oh,
it.
that's perfect.
Yeah.
So
So
you
I'm confused about one thing though. I thought Metal Sunday is wasn't that in October?
they have one about every 6 months.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, about every
Okay.
6 months. And oh man, the vinyl was flying yesterday. It was crazy. So
Nice.
um gosh, so many things I want to ask, but I'll get to UFO in a minute, but I want to ask about your vinyl collection. So I've collected, I don't know, I had a couple thousand pieces at one point, and I'm down to several hundred now, but I have boiled it down to stuff that really I'm connected with or means something to me. Um, I had it when I was a kid. It's my favorite record or whatever, but my holy grail, and I want to know what yours is. I was actually able to get an original Iron Maiden Soundhouse tapes, and it's in a lockbox. I've never locked up a record in my life, but I have
Wow.
that. I have a Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love on leather records. I have a second pressing of that, which was the one they did the most of before they got onto Elektra. And then I have an original Guns N' Roses Live Like a Suicide. So I think those are my three that I'd be reaching for. But tell me what's special in your collection? What are your favorites?
Um, you know, it's hard to think of because if I would have known that you were going to ask that question, I would have went in there and looked.
Right.
But Keith did hook me up with an original Appetite for Destruction, which was nice.
Oh, very
Um,
nice.
and I got a lot of old first pressing stuff from the '70s.
That's crazy.
Um,
It's cool that you hung on to all that because I didn't manage to keep a lot of my collection from when I was a kid, and
well,
I've had
thank
to
thank
recollect.
my dad. He had space,
Yeah. Oh man,
and
that's so
moving around New York City in small apartments up 5 flights of stairs.
no way.
No, and that's why no one has them. Not they might not have been in New York, but similar situations. You got them in milk crates, and after like 3 or 4 moves, you're like,
You're just done.
I got to do something here.
You're done.
Yeah, you're
So
just tired.
so
So
you did
luckily, my dad, who's also a vinyl collector, not as the exact same taste as me, but
right.
he appreciates vinyl. Luckily, he had some space, and so he's into turntables and stuff.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah, what got me rekindled with vinyl about 10, 12 years ago now was my dad gave me his old turntable that I grew up listening to records on. I listened to my first Kiss record on that turntable. He had a very nice MCS turntable. It's right there, as a matter of fact. And so I went out, started going to the bookstores, and you could get records for $2 or $3. And I just went crazy thinking, oh, well, this will be fun. I'll get some records. And I got a few hundred records. And then all of a sudden, the vinyl craze comes back. And now a $3 or $4 record that I was buying a decade ago is $40.
Yeah, I
So,
mean that happened to me too. I said that mine were all from the '70s and when I was a kid, but that's not true. In the '90s, I used to go to swap meets and buy a lot of records for $1, and I bought not that many, but maybe 500 or so, for
yeah,
$1 each or whatever. A lot of them mint condition, because in the '90s, no one wanted records.
right. I'm the same way now with CDs. I've probably got 2,000 CDs in this room, and I love having the digital hard copy in case I lose my files. But I still spin CDs on a player just like records. But
Yeah, I got a few hundred of those too.
oh, nice, nice.
I
So
was thinking what I have like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon with the original poster, like open like once, stuff like that. I got Spread Eagle's debut on LP.
I'm currently
Lots of
looking
stuff.
for that, by the way.
Yeah. Lots of stuff, lots of posters, albums that have posters and things like that. And
Oh, all the Kiss stuff just had a million little order forms and posters and
right.
stickers, and I've got most of that. My Kiss and Iron Maiden and Judas Priest are probably my three biggest collections. And then when I started collecting records, I started going backward into Pink Floyd, ZZ Top, some classic stuff that I'd heard on the radio, but I never really got into. So record collecting really got me back into a lot of those. But what got me into UFO, to be quite honest with you, I knew, Rock Bottom and Lights Out and all that. And I had a greatest hits CD, but then you go back and you get Phenomenon and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, wait. And then the different era with Mechanics, and then the first couple of, space rock stuff. And so record collecting got me into earlier UFO that I didn't know about as much. So speaking of UFO, you're just rolling along through life, collecting records. You've done Spread Eagle. Life has been good. How
That's
in the
beautiful.
world, how in the
Man.
world do you get to be the bass player of UFO?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask. Things were good, and then the virus hit, and we're getting ready to tour and all that. But that'll come later.
That will come.
Well, simple story. I was playing with Sebastian. I'm still am, and we were touring, supporting Guns N' Roses for a long time. It spanned like 5 years, I think. They would just take us out for, this run or that run, and it was a total of about 100 shows. So we got to know them, and we got to play in front of them, and we watched them every night, of course. And so I got to be friends with Ron Fall, Bumblefoot, and
Okay.
and friends in the sense that we talked, and he's a cool guy, and we weren't super close, but friends. And he's friends with Vinnie Moore, and Vinnie told Ron that they were looking for a bass player, someone who's solid as a person and solid as a player, and not all that nonsense. So Ron recommended me, and I didn't have to audition or anything. Just went right into rehearsals for a tour.
Oh, wow.
So that was amazing. And it shows how intuitive Ron is about music. He knew when Vinny described what they were looking for, he knew that I would be a great fit, and it was really spot on. So,
And all of a sudden, 12
thanks,
years
Ron.
later, 12, here we are. Because you joined the band in '08, right? I think I read
Yes.
that correctly. Okay, cool. So back to the question that you thought I was going to ask. So here you go. Did you guys complete the Final Orders tour, or did that get cut short? Were there still shows left?
There's still shows left. We have, we canceled South America, which we would be doing in May, and then beyond that, we're not sure, but we have the summer in Europe with festivals.
Yeah.
So, and we have the fall in Europe. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, I know the summer, it doesn't look, nothing has been canceled. I haven't heard anything other than I heard May was canceled in South America, definitely.
Right.
But I don't know how, I hope it happens this summer, but I don't know.
So when you're in a band, UFO or Sebastian or Spread Eagle, and all these things just grind to a halt, I think people think to some extent, oh, well, it's cool. They've got millions of dollars. They're touring the world. But in this day and age, I don't think it's really like that. I think you guys I mean, it is your job, and yes, it's a fantastic gig, but I don't think it's sitting on millions of bucks in the 70s or 80s like they
Not
did.
even,
So
not even close.
how
Most people are just getting by,
right.
paying their mortgages or paying their rent.
Yeah, and it's so weird because a fan like myself comes out and sees, you play, sees Phil Mogg, sees Vinnie Moore, and we just think, oh my gosh, this is great. Look what I paid for this ticket. Look at how many people bought tickets, and I bought a shirt and this and that. But it really does get to a day-to-day thing when your gig is completely pulled out from under you. How have
Oh,
you
yeah.
been able to weather that storm pretty well?
Well, Um,
I,
I
I can't speak
I
for
applied for
I don't wanna,
the federal grants and all that stuff, but nothing. It's impossible to get through. So I don't even know if I will get anything.
yeah,
Um, that is a mess, and whoever's in charge of that has definitely not done a good job. And they're giving out all this money. Why don't they just hire enough people who can handle the claims?
right,
Why don't they start with that? You know.
right.
Um, but so yeah, it's rough, but we'll get through it.
Yeah, you will. Well, um, we had talked before we went live here, not live, but before I hit the record button, about seeing you guys at the Gas Monkey live in Dallas. And you mentioned that that was one of your favorite venues in the country. Why is that?
It's just it sounds great on stage. It's a great big open clean room. The the video wall is great. They treat us awesome. Nice backstage. There's really nothing. Everything they offer is really high quality,
Wow.
and we always have kick-ass shows there, and we draw great crowds there. So
Yeah.
I love Dallas. Yeah,
Well, the two times I've seen you at Gas Monkey Live, the energy from the band has been great. And I've got to think that the venue does have a lot to do with that.
it does. It does. I mean, you can only fake it so much. What you're feeling, you bring onto that stage.
Oh, yeah.
And if you get treated good, and there's a lot of people there, and then it's easier to kick ass.
Yeah. So I something I did not realize until I opened up the liner notes of the Spread Eagle record, Subway to the Stars, which I highly recommend. I think it is a melodic hard rock classic. I love it. Um uh oh, I was about to crank out.
Something you open up the liner notes.
Oh yeah, I was gonna crank out the name of a song too, and now it's escaped me. Oh, 29th of February. That's the one that's the earworm that gets stuck for me. I just 29 singing, singing, singing. I can't stop singing that one. Um, Tell me how the record came about after all that time from the first two records. Is the band apart? Is the band together? Or are you just doing other stuff and busy?
First I'll start. I'll explain that song a little bit, and then I'll get to the process.
Yeah.
Um, Rick Luca, our drummer, wrote the music to that song. Most of it. I helped him with it a little bit, but he wrote most of it. And so it's just a really cool, badass song, and when he brought that in, we were really psyched because it definitely is Spread Eagle. So as far as how everything went down, of getting the record out and getting Frontiers on board, there's a guy named Ian in UK, and
Mhm.
he put on a festival called Heavy Metal Hull. So he's been a Spread Eagle fan since the beginning, and he brought us over, which was fantastic. And then because we were in Hull, England, we did some other shows in England, and we did some shows in Germany, and just kind of like you know raised our level a little bit by going over there and touring. And we were doing shows in US too, in the Northeast. So then when we got home, I got an email from Frontiers asking if we'd like to make a record. And so we did, and we recorded it in Brooklyn, and we're really proud of it. Howie Weinberg mastered it, and Daniel Brecher mixed it. I produced it, and everyone wrote. All the band members all wrote on the record. So, and as I mentioned earlier, it's like the best reviews we've gotten so
Mhm.
far, which is fantastic. So we're really proud of it.
That it is a great record. Speed of Sound is another one that I like to.
Sound of Speed.
Sound of Speed, sorry.
It says both those phrases nonstop. So
Well, when I interviewed Gene Hoglan, I forgot to introduce him, so forgive me if I'm a little nervous, but
no,
uh,
it says that all during the song. Also, it says both versions of that
yeah,
phrase.
great song. It's a
Thank
really
you.
good record. I look forward to seeing you guys when you get out on the road for that, and hopefully the UFO tour will pick back up. And so, what's the status with Sebastian? I mean, he's just holding firm like everybody else, right?
He has dates booked in late October until mid-December. So that's pretty far away, which is good.
Hmm.
But I don't know, I mean, right now, as of now, they're on.
Right.
Um, so we got fingers crossed.
Yeah, man. It the whole thing is just very disheartening. I just want people to take it seriously. I want people to be safe. I'm very glad that you got out of Manhattan when you did, and were able to avoid all of that. As your family stayed safe, everybody's well.
Everyone is well. I mean, I know people who've passed away, but
Oh goodness.
but it's definitely serious in New York. Like maybe in some more remote areas of the country, people might not realize or might not feel it personally.
Right.
But there's a lot of people dying in New York. A lot of people dying, and a lot of people over the age of 85 if they get it. There's the mortality rate is really high. So it's very moral where about the 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 thought of spreading it to someone who's older. Not that it doesn't kill young people and middle-aged people also, but obviously a much lower percentage.
Right.
But the people in the 85 and up category, the mortality rate is really high. So you have to be very, very diligent about not spreading it to someone like that.
Yeah,
That
I
would just
agree.
be horrible.
My dad is 80 and he's had some recent health issues, and I don't want to go up there. I talk to him a lot, but I just want to be very careful because they're at an advanced age. And I called him and said, "Hey, I love you so much. I just want to be respectful, and I want to call you and I'll come if you need me. But if you guys are good, and my brother's close too, but
That's
I,
good.
I understand everybody's got a different situation in this crisis. They know somebody that has been lost, or they know somebody that's been sick or affected. I've been very fortunate to be north of Dallas and don't know of anybody yet. Obviously, we watch the numbers uh, that our mayor puts out. He's got some very accurate numbers that we watch. But New York City, from the outset of this thing, was just scary to me. And when Keith and I got to talking about, um, having you on, and he was setting me up with you, then this whole thing kicked off. And that, it's been several weeks since we first reached out. And I was concerned because I knew from Keith that you were up in that area. So I'm very glad that you got out.
Yeah, I mean, it's for obvious reasons why New York is bad. Everyone's in close proximity, and everyone travels via the subway, buses. That's most people don't have a car; they travel public transportation, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a car there. So,
Right.
um, so yeah, but I'm wishing everyone there health and safety.
Yeah, I'm glad your family is all well. We've been lucky here as well. Um, tell me what else you want to talk about as far as what you've got coming up in the future. We've talked about the tours. What else have you got lined up that you want to tell people about?
That's about it. Just still promoting the Subway to the Stars Spread Eagle record, trying to get people to check it out on Spotify or whatever. They don't have to buy it, just listen to it. We're really proud of it, and that's our launching pad for where we're going with in the future with the band. And we're going to keep making records and keep touring with everyone. And so, other than that, I have a vintage bass website that I built called vintagebassworld.com, vintagebassworld.com, and it's the largest vintage website in the universe. It's massive,
Okay.
like 400 web pages, one website. So
Wow.
tens of thousands of pictures. It's just details of vintage basses. So check, if anyone's a bass player, check that out. It's really in depth. And other than that, that's just about it. Trying to be creative and spend a lot of quality time with family.
Right, right. Well, let's touch on the website just for a second. So you've built this massive website. So tell us what your bass collection looks like.
Well, it's not as massive as the site. I've had a lot over the course of my life. I don't have a lot anymore,
Yeah.
but and I used to buy and sell them, and I had all this information in my head of how, what's original, so I don't get, ripped off or whatever. And there was a point where I had most of it in my head, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had to. Someone said you should write a book, and website is basically a book. So I did that, and a programmer in Germany constructed it for me, and I provided all the content and the look of it,
Yeah.
so the way it works. So
Now, are you touring with some of your favorite bases, or are you leaving those at home?
no, I tour with them because I think it's important to sound as good as you can. So in UFO, I use a 1979 Thunderbird natural color, natural finish.
Hmm.
And in Bach, I use this 1966 Fender Precision. That's just really been ravaged, and it
Yeah.
looks like it's been through war, and it has. Looks like it's been around the world a few times, and it has.
Yeah. But it sounds like butter, I bet.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Great.
Now, we've got to work something out. When I saw you for the first time, both times I've seen UFOs at Gas Monkey Live, and I told you before we came on that I noticed two things right off the bat. First of all, Phil Mogg is 4 feet from me. And second of all, I've got to get that dude's leather jacket. So how are we going to work this out? I'm going to have to get that brown leather jacket because it's
Do you play bass? Because that could kill both birds in one stone.
Man, I wouldn't know what to do with a guitar or bass if you held
Uh,
a gun to my head. So
well, I've had different brown leather jackets. You said it was brown.
I think it was. Yeah, I've got
I've
pictures.
had different. I've had different brown leather jackets, so it could be one of two or three. So
I'll share a couple pictures so you know, because I need that one. It was just like,
okay,
this is too cool. He's got the Thunderbird, the leather
I think
jacket. I can't play the bass, so I'll just get the jacket.
if it's the first time you saw us, then I think it was one I got in a vintage shop on, like a resale clothing shop in Manhattan on First Avenue a
Ah,
long time
perfect.
ago.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, if you're ever back in Dallas and you need to go record shopping, I'm your personal taxi. I know where all the good spots are.
I know Sebastian will want to. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
have a hard time transporting. See, I don't buy LPs on the road because then I got to bring it on the plane, so
well,
or go to a post office, which is difficult.
if we run through Dallas, I'll send them to you.
Okay.
But
Cool.
there are some great record shops in Dallas Fort Worth. The drummer of St. Vitus has one over in
Oh
Fort
wow.
Worth, and it's it's everything. He's got such great stuff in there. And then there's a place in Arlington, which is right in the middle of Dallas and Fort Worth, called Forever Young, and it's literally just the phone book of records.
Wow.
If you want to find it, this guy's going to have it. Now you're going to pay for it, but it's there. It's shocking. It's the size of a large Walmart. It's massive.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it. But and then we've got Josie, which is really cool. We got some good spots, man. I'll show you where the good spots are.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off here, and then we'll stay on and hop off. But I'll stop the recording. Rob, thank you so much for hanging out with us on the Metal Roundtable today. We appreciate it very much. Thanks again to Keith Tabler for putting me in touch with you, which I also appreciate. And if you ever need anything from me or the Metal Roundtable, you got it, brother.
Thank you, Rob.
Hope to see you in Dallas soon. And with that, metal will prevail.